Oh my. So Dune is a 2021 sci-fi epic written and directed by my favorite director of this new generation, Denis Villeneuve, who also directed some of my other favorites, including Sicario, Prisoners, Blade Runner 2049, Arrival, and some other great movies. And this is basically the adaptation of one of my favorite novels, Arrival. And this is kind of a remake of the 80s David Lynch movie that we don't want to talk about. So yeah. Now, the question is this. Is this movie worth it? Should you watch it in theaters? Did you watch it on HBO Max? Should you even watch this movie at all? Let's find out. So right off the bat, I love Denis Villeneuve. Like, he is easily my favorite director of this new generation. I mean, look at his filmography. Like, the 2010 movie, I can't remember, but that was great. Prisoners, Enemy, Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner 2049. 5 of some of my very favorite movies of all time. And when I heard that he was going to be directing this new movie, I was so pumped. And he did not disappoint at all. In fact, this may not be his best, but man, this is easily and maybe his second most beautiful film, only just topped by Arrival. But man, he did a great job directing it. You could really tell that he had passion for this movie and the novel that it is based on. You could really tell he had that passion. And then the acting. Where do I even begin? Everyone is on top of their game. To like Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Rebecca, I can't remember her last name. I just don't want to mispronounce it. And then Jason Momoa. Everybody in this movie is on top of their game, from good to great. This, and we cannot talk about this movie without talking about the visual effects, because this is one of the most visually stunning experiences I have had in years. Like, this is like, the acting was so great and the visuals are just beautiful. And then story-wise, like, I actually think that this film did a 10 times better job than what David Lynch did with what he was trying to do versus what Denis Villeneuve is doing with this one, which is trying to stay faithful to the novel. And considering that the novel is very long, that he chose to split this movie into one, and then make it into part 2. So basically, like, yes. So yeah, I like how he's basically just splitting this movie into two, because I really appreciate it, because like, this is like a 2.5 hour movie, and who knows how long part 2 will be. Maybe it'll be 2.5, maybe it'll be 3 hours, maybe 3.5. I don't know, but yeah. And then now the runtime. Yes, this is a 2.5 hour movie. I wouldn't be honest. I actually wish the movie was actually longer. Like, I actually wouldn't even mind if it was 5 hours. I wouldn't even mind if this was like the whole movie and it was like 10 hours. I wouldn't even mind, because I was so hooked throughout the movie. There was not 1 minute or second in this movie where I was bored. There was not 1 minute in this movie where I was bored. And that's another thing. Most of his movies are very long, but this, like, he just showcased that he can make a long movie and he'll still have you hooked on the edge of your seat. And then, like, which is very hard to do. I mean, but he would give me this movie and I tell you, I could binge the whole thing. And then the cinematography. I call it the Oscars right now. This is the best cinematography of the year. This is it. This, Green Knight, no. The cinematography in this movie, I think, is actually better than the Green Knight. The Green Knight cinematography is beautiful, but it's not this level. No. This is awesome. And the score. Do we already got a contender or maybe even winner? Because the score was awesome. The score was absolutely incredible. And as well as like Timothy Chalamet's character, Paul or Paulie. Yes, I actually love this first part of the movie because mainly because in the novel, it's basically about this man who's supposedly the chosen one, and then in part one, he's basically training to basically try to fight it off. I believe from the Empire, if I can remember. I'm sorry if I can't remember. I only read it in the middle school one, so I'm sorry if I confused with some parts, but yeah. So I remember that in part one that the chosen one, in case Paulie in this instance, that he was basically chosen to try to fight off, I believe, against an empire, and then in part two, that's when he actually tries to do it, but it takes a while to get there, which I appreciate. You know, it takes its time, which a lot of movies just don't do it, but I appreciate this movie and all greatness we're doing it. And the action scenes, there's not a lot of action in this movie. I'm sure there's going to be some in part two, but for the action that was in this movie, I think that these are better than most, not all, but most of the action that's in the Marvel or the DC movies. Not all, but just most of them. Obviously, there's some. I'm not gonna mention them, but I think most of you get the point. Yeah, the action scenes in this movie, I think, are some of the best I have seen in possibly years. Yes, in fact, I think most of it is better than the MCU. Obviously, not all, but I think you get the point. What? Well, you expect me to say something? Just move on to the next. Sorry, and now let's go to the negatives. Are you really expecting me to say something? And so overall, Dune, this movie met my expectations. Like my expectations was already like this high. It did reach it by this because this movie is just awesome. I saw this in IMAX and it changed the movie from awesome to epic. So if I were you, if you can, I'm not saying you should, because obviously I know the situation with. I'm not just saying. If your theater is open, as long as you got IMAX, go watch Dune in IMAX, please. This movie will blow. The IMAX will blow you away. Seriously, yeah, everything about this movie, I thought was great. The acting was basically everyone in this movie was on top of their game. The cinematography, the score, the visual effects, the action scenes, easily some of the best I've seen this year and maybe even years. And I can already say it right now: if cinematography, the score, and the visual effects, the Oscars, we already got a winner right here for now. Yes, and for part one, I think this movie really did a great job taking its time. It's very long. It's like, I think it's like 2 hours and 35 minutes. But you know what I love about this? I was not bored, and this movie did a great job taking its time, which I really appreciate about this movie. So yeah, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, because you know what though? I got nothing. I got nothing mixed, nothing negative, all just positives about this movie. Oh, and whatever you do, don't watch it on HBO Max. Don't do it, because this movie deserves your money. Go watch it in the theater. Go watch it in IMAX. Go see this movie in theaters, because this movie is awesome-tastic.